But let's talk about apology videos here, because I think this is whether do you apologize or do you not apologize?
Right.
In a situation like this, given that these guys have been in hot water for controversial topics more than once, how important is it for a brand to come out and apologize, and how deep does that apology have to be? Like, to what level do they have to go and make an apology? Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Tap, otherwise known as Sam and Danny's Reason to Drink During the Workday. Today, we are coming to you from our brand new offices. We just moved into a WeWork facility that's getting a lot of attention. They're opening up all over the world. So our group is growing. We have... we just added... and we do have a lot more beer drinkers. So we've got quite a bit on the go right now. We needed a bigger space, so we're experimenting with new offices here today. We're hoping that the audio is going to be good here. And that's also why we've got these in honor of WeWork. We're drinking uncharacteristically beer out of plastic WeWork glasses.
It's like being back at college, you know,
with the solo cups.
cups.
Yeah, no, it's slightly better than, you know what? No, I think the solo cups are better.
Yeah.
But anyway, we thought we would give WeWork a little bit of a shout out. Thank you. Is that against our terms of use here to drink beer inside these conference rooms while we're...
I don't know. We should check that.
Oh, but they got beer on tap, so it can't
be.
All right, so never mind. We're good. So today we want to talk to you about fashion faux pas. Danny and I, one of our favorite topics is marketing screw-ups, how other marketers have really screwed up their campaigns, because that's just a fun thing to do. So today we found a number of faux pas, marketing faux pas, that are just, one of those, palm, what is it?
Palm on the head.
Palm on the head, forehead. Like, it's just...
Slap your head.
Yeah. They're just really unbelievable that, how they could actually make it to market. And they all happen to be in the fashion industry. So we have a fashion related, that's why I'm wearing my purple flower shirt today. We have a fashion related episode with brands like LuluLemon, Dolce and Gabbana, The Gap, and a few others. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, marketing faux pas in the fashion industry. But before we do so, we have something interesting.
I'll pass this over to Anna, who's our stand-in producer today.
Yeah, Anna, you want to maybe also... I want to get Anna, because we normally have a robber camera. You want to pass me the... I want to get Anna on camera this time. We started something last...
couple of weeks back.
Couple of weeks
back, yeah.
That we have a Robert cam, because he's not a big fan of craft beer, and I just love watching his look on his face when he tries some of the beers that we have.
Yeah. So this one, again, our friends up in the Muskoka region, Sort of City Brewing, awesome brewer. They make fantastic IPAs, stouts, and seasonals. And this seasonal was their maple butter tart, which has got aromas of maple, because it's maple tart, butter rum pudding, vanilla and caramel candy, and that leads back into like a pie crust and a toffee flavor. So this is kind of like almost like a dessert in a plastic cup. So we'll have better glasses for next week when we'll see, have better beer options. But let's see what it's like. It's a 5% ABV, so it's a pretty, easygoing stuff. So,
yeah. Well, it smells pretty. We'll see how it tastes.
It smells like my granny's.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, hang on, Anna. I want to have the Anna cam. You good? Anna seems to be a fan.
Are we fine now?
Yeah, the taste from the beer that the kid.
Yeah, it's
definitely. I can get the fruit, like a fruit pudding.
I can
like a
see
Christmas
that
pudding with a fruitiness going through it.
Yeah, and a Christmas pudding is not a popular item, so I'm not quite sure how this beer is going to do. But I guess again, for this time of the year, I would have the one can. I don't think I can have this on an ongoing basis.
It may grow on us on the way through. We'll see.
Well, it's got alcohol, so let's be honest. All right, so let's get back to fashion faux pas. Danny, the first one I want to talk about is I guess the one that's hot right now. It's the one everybody's talking about today, and that's Dolce and Gabbana, an Italian designer, a duo of Italian designers. They got into hot water after releasing a pretty racist ad that I don't think they realized was racist. I don't know what their marketing company was thinking, but it's for their Asian market, and they basically have a very attractive Asian woman in one of their outfits, decked out with the jewelry, trying to eat pizza with chopsticks. And she was directed to do so in a way that basically fumbling with the chopsticks, like, how do I eat this pizza with chopsticks? and she came across as a little, clueless, which reinforces a lot of the stereotypes of, especially in Europe, where Asians are socially maybe not all there. They don't really know how to integrate with other cultures, so on and so forth. So it really perpetuated a stereotype that was going. And of course, that got everybody up in arms. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about the apology. So maybe let me throw that in there as well. Okay. So they did apologize. So we'll skip ahead. Backlash on social media, something we've talked about on this show many times. But if you watch the apology, and I think this is maybe almost more the story here than the actual faux pas of this ad. It's the two designers, much like we are right now with this, of course, Baroque wallpaper behind dark, reading an apology that essentially sounds like this. And there was no emotion in it. There was nothing heartfelt. And the apology almost made the whole thing worse.
Right, yeah.
So why does this keep happening?
I think it's a mixture of tone deaf. We've spoken before about tone deaf brands and how brands really don't get, when they screw up, how they screwed up. And maybe a little bit of arrogance. And I mean, designers tend to be very egotistical because of their character and the industry they're in. So maybe a little bit of arrogance and possibly they thought, well, everybody's overreacting. It's a very PC-led world now,
it's coming through. Like their attitude is, I don't want to do this. There's a PR company forcing me to do this.
Right, exactly. So they would have been better off not doing a visual apology and just put a press release out or a statement saying, okay, we screwed up. We didn't intend to make a stereotypical racist inference about this this particular ad or this particular campaign.
And I think maybe this wasn't my intention, but let's talk about apology videos here, because I think this is whether do you apologize or do you not apologize.
Right.
In a situation like this, given that these guys have been in hot water for controversial topics more than once, how important is it for a brand to come out and apologize, and how deep does that apology have to be? Like, to what level do they have to go and make an apology?
Yeah. Well, look back. I think we spoke about a couple of shows back about the Domino's Pizza CEO when he came out and made the apology because of his employees that were tampering with people's food, etc. And since then, they've outstripped Google when it comes to percentage of revenue growth, and profits.
Yeah.
So it shows that when done properly, the apologies do, have an impact. With these guys, I'm not so sure because they have a very dedicated audience. And I'm guessing how many of their buyers of Dolce and Gabbana wearers, etc., how many would actually stop buying them because of what's happened here? Wouldn't even see the apology. They're just interested in how they look. I mean, I could be making a broad assumption.
But well, I think it's a good point. And I like the example that they went out of their way, not just to apologize. And again, it was from the CEO, so from the top down, which I think is important. But they took a lot of action. There was like, this is what we're going to. It's almost like an employee, review.
Right.
Like, this is what's wrong. Here's how we're going to work to fix it, and let's work together, and then let's do a progress report after so many, days or months or whatever. And I think that's what he did. He took that approach and said, we're going to change it. We're going to change our menus. We're going to change our pizza. We're going to change our delivery process. We're going to change our HR. He went through this entire corporate restructuring because of this bad, social media. And it worked. But he went beyond just an apology. He says, this is our action plan, and this is what we're going to do. I think another example, Starbucks, not that long ago, remember the story? This just came to me now. What was the story of Starbucks when there was a couple of African Americans walked into a Starbucks and they were racially profiled in some way? I forget the details.
Yeah, they were asked to leave.
Because they were loitering.
That's right. And someone called the cops on them, and the manager never really stood up for them, and they had to go and retrain. They closed Starbucks down for a day in the US.
Right. Well, and I think from an apology standpoint, not only did Starbucks stand up and say, hey, this is not our culture, and clearly we need to better educate our staff. And they closed all Starbucks across North America for a couple of hours, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
What kind of a better visual symbol to put your money where your mouth is.
Right, exactly.
It says, we're closing all of our stores, and we're going to do cultural sensitivity training to all of our employees at the same time.
Yeah.
Not only did it cost them a lot of money to organize that, they lost revenue. A couple, all Starbucks across North America closed for, so many hours in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the millions that cost them in lost revenue.
Yeah.
But it eventually didn't end up hurting their brand because they took serious action beyond just an apology. But then you've got some that really don't give a bleep and are just going to go forward anyway. LuluLemon is a famous one here.
Canadian.
It's a Canadian brand. It's this crazy yoga pant culture, and LuluLemon is one of the leaders in yoga wear in Canada now around the world. They're very famous, and they became even more famous for the owner, Chip Wilson, was listening to a lot of complaints online about women were complaining that the material of their yoga pants was too thin. And so they were tearing, and that they were, you can see skin through it because they were stretched out so much. So his comment to everybody wasn't, we'll take a look at that or whatever. We're going to look at different sizes. We're going to look at different fabrics, bringing the customer in potentially and making a, like a
crowdsourced,
crowdsourced. Well, how can we make this better? Maybe they're not going to change anything, but at least publicly they can say, we accept your feedback and we're going to work with it. What he ended up saying is, well, maybe you're essentially I'm paraphrasing, but you're probably too fat to be wearing yoga pants anyway.
Yeah.
So the point is that the reason they're so thin is because your legs are too big and you're stretching it out so much.
Then you say it's down to your thighs chafing as well, and that's ruining the material.
Because it's really the quote here is that it's really about the rubbing through the thighs and how much pressure is there, as opposed to there might be something wrong with our fabric and we're going to look into it. Even if you never do anything about it, at least acknowledge. So, I mean, this is another really crazy one. And now he never came back and made any kind of an apology.
Right. No.
So what's the impact? I mean, LuluLemon is still there. They're still selling. What kind of an impact does this really have if you don't come out and make these massive heartfelt apologies?
Well, they did take a big hit because I was at a social media conference when this came out, and it was one of the big talking points about the statement or lack of statement. So I know they did take a big hit, obviously, on social, which is why we pulled it up there. Pretty sure they took a big hit financially as, previous customers who were, weren't size 0 with the perfectly sculpted thighs or whatever, stopped buying the products and, return products or whatever. And I mean, as well, you've got to think of what that means to the employees at LuluLemon who aren't the ideal size that this guy's on about. How does that make them feel if I'm a plus size woman or guy working at this company where my boss is essentially saying, well, you know what, you're too fat to wear my products.
Yeah, well, for myself and on behalf of all of the viewers that are following us on the vlog, I want to thank you for not wearing your LuluLemon yoga pants today.
Well, they chafed at the thigh. So.
I've seen you in them, and it is not a pretty sight. And you know what? They almost seem to have doubled down. Instead of actually making some kind of an active apology, there's this one great tweet from a woman, Diana Russell, who saw one of their stores, and on the window, it said their tagline for this campaign was love, cups of chai, apple pies, rubbing thighs. I mean, so they actually were trying to be, irreverent, maybe, you know what I mean? Just trying to be comical in the response because of all the negativity around that rubbing thighs. They actually doubled down, to use, a popular term today on the political front, on this, or tripling down, as the case may be here. And that obviously didn't go over well. I know that within my family and friends, the women that do buy these stop buying them.
Right.
Because if I'm going to be spending that kind of money, and they started looking for alternatives, and they found alternatives that they're happy with, and they haven't gone back.
Right.
I don't know that the bigger impact financially is there or not, but certainly this is going back a year now. We're still talking about this. So that negativity doesn't seem to want to go away because they never did anything to really counter it. Speaking of apologies, another company that made absolutely no apology, video or otherwise, is Cosmo Magazine. Cosmo Magazine's been much maligned anyway, but they've become, unfortunately, like a lot of magazines that are just desperate for readership with their clickbait ads. And the one ad that they put out, or the title, was how this woman lost 44 pounds without any exercise. Right. And that's, of course, who's not going to want to see that? I'm on a weight loss thing right now. I'm exercising with my trainer. So I would have clicked on something like that if that was about guys. Like, oh my God, I don't have to kill myself in the gym to lose 44 pounds. I'll take a look at that. But of course, when you read the story, it's actually about a woman who lost 44 pounds because she was suffering with a rare form of cancer. So that's the reason that she lost 44 pounds without dieting, because she was sick. So a combination of her being sick and the medication she was taking. And of course, what they said is there's a big backlash on social media. People started complaining. And what they did is they just changed the title to how this woman lost 44 pounds by loving her body or something like that and taking care of herself. As opposed to, just getting rid of it altogether and making an apology that we were insensitive. This was clickbait. Own it. Right. How important is that owning? Because they never actually apologized. They just changed the title and went forward.
One part of me also thinks, how effective was the new title? Was it as sympathetic? Like loving your body. I've never had cancer. I know people that suffer from cancer, and there's days when you hate your body because you've gone through treatment. Yeah. So you're thinking, is that new title any better? But the fact that they made it a clickbait article in the first place is pretty unforgivable. And to not own it in any shape or form afterward, like you say, Cosmo comes under a lot of pressure anyway, and this does them no favor, especially when more and more magazines are going under as people migrate to paywalls and like the Telegraph in the UK. Exactly. That they're doing well with their paywall journalism. So folks like you've got Chatelaine that are doing excellent stuff with their content online. Put that against Cosmo, then that's stuff like that.
There you go, ladies. If you're looking for a magazine to read online, Chatelaine,
as recommended by me,
as recommended by the woman himself, Danny Brown, as opposed to Danielle on the weekends. When you get dressed up. So now I got the thought of you in yoga pants and you in drag now in my head.
Yes,
this is why we drink.
My Tuesday is complete. I'm just going to go home now. Awesome.
All right, so moving right along, another one, Topman Tailors, which is now here in North America, but they're a British fashion company. I think they're part of the Bay in Canada now. They forgot the golden rule of marketing, which, I think we learned on day one of marketing class in university, which is never insult your customer. I guess unless that's your brand.
Right,
if you're the soup Nazi from the old Seinfeld episodes, insult your customers and they're going to want to keep coming back. Maybe that's the strategy they have here, but clearly it's not working. In the UK, a number of years ago, they put out, they were interviewed basically. And in that interview, they said that the person who directs their fashion line, in that article, he called his customers football hooligans. And football, again, that is soccer for you Americans, football hooligans and beer swilling lads. So that's how he classified the audience that buys product at Topman shops. And, everybody, of course, lost their minds and said, what are you talking about? Why are you calling your customers this? And the way they apologized for it, or the way that they went and explained what they were doing is well, this guy who directs our brand, he lives the brand. And he's a partier. Okay. Basically what they said.
So he's a hooligan.
Basically, that's what it comes down to, right? They said, well, he goes to pubs. He lives large. He parties hard. He sees what the average guy today is wearing. They don't wear suits. And at one point he says, they don't wear suits when they have to go to, when they're being arrested.
Right. That's the first time they're going to wear a suit.
But they want to wear something nice just the same. And so that's who I'm appealing to. So basically they says, well, the head of our fashion brand is a hooligan himself, and and everybody else is. So guess what? We're going to target them, which in a way I give them credit for their honesty, right? Can you really blame them though for being honest to say, look, you know what the reality is? There's a population of people that live like this, that are soccer hooligans or, football hooligans that are, beer swilling lads and like to stay out late and party and womanize and fight. And we want to dress them. Why is that wrong?
I think it's probably I remember Topman. I used to, buy from Topman back in the UK. And it kind of reminds me of another company.
Do they sell yoga pants?
No, that was their downfall, which is why they had to extend themselves into North America. But it reminds me of another company called Ratner's, which was a UK jewelers back in the 70s and 80s. Huge company. They sold like $1, $10 pieces of jewelry or whatever. And at a private dinner event, the CEO mentioned that, we could sell these to anybody. They're pieces of crap, and it got out and there was a huge backlash, and then the company actually folded. A year later, they went bankrupt. But back to this comment here, I think it's the wrong people that maybe got picked up on the complaints, etc. Because the audience is the football guy, the hooligan, the sack lad, innit? And they probably enjoyed, being said, being told, yeah, we're going to dress you, we're making clothes for you, we don't care about people that want $100 shirts or whatever.
Right.
It's the marketers and maybe folks like us, I guess, that are looking at this and thinking, well, was there really an issue, or there was a bigger issue than was given?
Yeah.
So I think they actually got their audience and their target messaging right, and we just tend, not we, like we generic, tend to pick up on crap to complain about.
Yeah, well, like I said, our favorite thing to do is to criticize other people's marketing campaigns. So, but I mean, it's a good point, and there's a lot of that right now, especially with all the boycotts. Right? I know that there are companies who are marketing specifically for the purpose of getting the others to boycott, and then boycotting the boycott. Right? So taking a side and owning that, and so I don't know if that's necessarily a faux pas on their part, but they owned it and it became part of their brand ethos, and maybe. They're expanding, so who's to say that?
Well, it'd be interesting to revisit that one in about a year or so.
Yeah, and see how that works. Well, Anna's giving me the. We're done. We're done. I know we forgot our bell.
The bell.
In the whole move from our last office to this office, I'm not even sure where that bell is. Sorry, Stephen. I will find that bell. There you go. Well, that's a good one. Yeah. All right, so we're going to last call. What is your takeaway that you want to leave everybody with?
I think it's fairly obvious that understand your audience and don't piss them off, but understand what you're trying to say to them, and you own it, whether it's good or bad. You own it, and you say, you know what, like the last example did. These are who I'm going after. I'm going to actually stick to that, and stick to your guns as a company.
Yeah, for me, it would be, and I wasn't intending on talking about these apology videos as part of this, but that sort of came up in conversation. I would say own the mistake, which we've mentioned in the past on other podcasts. But I would also say do something very visible and proactive beyond the apology. Make the apology step one of a multi-step campaign. And then the bigger the problem, the more egregious, or people feel, then egregious. We have to have a little
big word. Yeah.
Bigger. That was on my word of the day calendar. The more egregious that faux pas is, or the more people feel slighted by that, the more you need to then really take definitive action beyond just the apology to sort of let it die down, and then make that people are going to be talking about what you did as opposed to to make it up as opposed to the faux pas. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thank you very much. We're at our time. It was good, Danny. Decent beer. It's growing on me.
It's different.
It is growing on me. If you like this podcast or vlog,
make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, wherever that is, down below. The little notification bell up there somewhere. And you can find us on about 10 or 12 podcast platforms as well. So hit the little subscribe button.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anna, for stepping in today.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Guys. Listen, who are we kidding? This has got alcohol in it. I don't care. At the end of the day, I don't think people realize that as long as it's alcoholic, we're going to be drinking.